Hey everybody, welcome. Sorry for the tech issues. Such is life these days, right? We've got a live stream service that links into LinkedIn that is having some tech difficulties today. So let me I'm manning the LinkedIn page to make sure everybody knows how to find us. So we will start officially in just a couple minutes. I'll wait for Donna to get on. Hey, Julia, I know you're on. If you can send the link over to Donna, please. And this will be good because we can interact a little bit more than on a live stream, because you can turn your mic off and actually talk to us directly. So that's cool. Can everybody hear me okay? I just want to make sure we're doing a sound check here.
Yep, I can hear you fine.
Awesome. Great, great. Okay, I am going to, oh, looks like I have to admit folks in. There we go. Perfect. Hi, Kim. Good to see ya. Awesome. So how's everybody's week going? I said, Donna, now we can interact a little bit more with the group.
I know. I know. It's sometimes better, right?
Yeah, it'll be a little bit more intimate. So I posted the link. Julia, go ahead and I posted it really fast. So if you want to just post the actual link and not all the other mumbo jumbo in case people missed it. And I'll keep an eye because it looks like I have to admit people into the room, the new Zoom rules. So awesome. Well, let's just go ahead and get started. And whoever wants to join can jump in. We'll make sure to post the recording of the session out for folks as well. But so the last time Donna and I met for coffee, we talked a lot about the topic of fear. And we defined really what fear is false evidence appearing real. Talked about how fear is not meant to paralyze us, but it really is an indicator of things that we need to pay attention to in order to, either I use examples of prevention or protection, not out of, panic, but to say these things are coming up for me for a purpose. And then we talked a little bit about how to push through that fear and how important it is to take action, but we didn't get in too deep to the action part. And so when we were thinking about what do we want to chat about today, we really decided on let's go deeper and talk about taking action. And so that is what we'll dive into. We got a lot of really great questions sent to us ahead of time, really more geared towards that, how do you push through? And so that's really what brought us to this subject today. We're totally open and willing to answer questions outside of this topic. We love getting feedback. Donna and I really feed off of feedback and collaboration with others. So by all means, if there's topics or areas that you guys want us to tackle, we might not get to it today, but we certainly will put it on our list, because the plan is to do these, up until the holiday break at the end of December. So, give us feedback, share what do you like about what we're talking about, but also what do you wish we would talk about more? And, what are some other areas that are causing you stress or to feel a little bit stuck? There's a lot of uncertainty. And so we want to do our part, even if it is just to help one person you know, feel a little bit better, take a little bit more action, do something that serves them, then we feel like we've played our part in how we want to show up for the world. So anyway, with that, I know Donna has a lot to say on action. She is my inspiration for action. She has so many great tips and things that she uses herself every day. Like, this woman is the epitome of pushing through and just being action oriented and very successful at it. So Donna, take it away.
I'm telling you, that was quite an intro this morning, my friend. I will tell you, Amy and I have so much fun getting ready for these calls because clearly what's going on in our world today is so different than what's gone on before. And so really our goal has been, since we did the first one, to help one single person. If we can help one person, then it's time well spent. It seems as though we have so far. So we continue to do these and continue to spend time with people, really just discussing and trying to help people push through these things. And as Amy mentioned last time, we talked about fear, right? And false evidence appearing real and all the things that sometimes can paralyze us. And so getting ready for today with addressing people's questions that they sent in, it's like, what do you do? How do you take action? And so in doing a little research this week, I found a couple different articles. One of them said that each adult every single day makes 35,000 decisions in a day. So every single day, I mean, think about that, 35,000 decisions every single day, which means that's about, I did the quick math, a couple thousand decisions an hour of your waking decisions, right? So as we're moving forward, we have a lot of choices to make. All day long, we're making choices, making decisions. And certainly when we're under normal business conditions and we're running businesses and in our zone and everything's going the way it's meant to be, that's easy to do, right? Because that's just what we do. But when we're faced with challenges and headwinds like we are right now, sometimes that's a little bit harder to think about. How do you make those decisions? And sometimes we get caught in like this radical loop of indecision and procrastination. And it's fascinating how many times, if you stop and think about this, how many times one thing can maybe run through your mind. And the reason it continues to run through there is because you're not doing anything about it. You really aren't making a decision and you aren't taking an action. So the goal is to somehow break out of that loop of indecision and roll into taking action and making a difference, and at least getting over a little bit that fear, and it allowing a place for other decisions in your mind, right? So it's fascinating that over the course of the last few weeks, you guys know there's all kinds of energy centered around the election, right? Well, the early voting opened in my area. So every day for a couple of weeks, I've been in my mind trying to decide when it is I'm going to vote. Like, when should I vote? And so I have literally every single day of my 35,000 decisions, I have processed this over and over and over again. When am I going to go? When am I going to do it? When am I drive by there? What's going to be a good time? Finally, the other day I woke up and I'm like, I'm taking some action. I'm going to go just do it. I just did it. It took 20 minutes out of my life. I went in, I went out, I was home before I knew it. And it really made me realize that day, then I didn't have to keep processing that, right? And so of all the decisions that we're making and all the things that we're faced with, the goal is to take action as fast as you can so you can move on to the other things and actually get things done. So if you think about 35,000 decisions, if you only took action on 10% of those, or even really 1% of those, you could radically change the outcome of your day or your week or your month or really your overall personal and professional life. So I found it kind of interesting. Amy, back to you.
It's super interesting. And I think if you put it into perspective of sales, right? What I see so often are when a salesperson is not prospecting, and the new business development piece is very different for a lot of sellers in this environment because we haven't necessarily had to. Like, we have 10 years of, growth and good times. And a lot of people were doing more of the responding and just keeping up and managing the business that was coming in. And for years, my team has been focused on proactive sales and building sales pipelines. And we've seen sellers who really tend to procrastinate on the new business, not necessarily out of like that it was intentional, even subconsciously, they were the people that I've coached in this space they were stalling and procrastinating that piece because it was uncomfortable. They weren't sure they would be doing it right. They weren't sure how to do it. And there was a lot of fear coming up for them. And so it was that inaction. So what we talk a lot about is sellers who are afraid to reach out and do that proactive piece. It's okay, first you have to decide to take the action and that you're going to do it. And we're going to set you up with the tools and the resources that you need to be very successful. You're going to practice it and whatnot. But action is a choice that you get to make. And I think that a lot of times we paralyze ourselves in that fear of, well, I might not do it right. I might not be perfect, because the salespeople, and I'm sure you see this too, the salespeople that I work with and that I've coached are high achievers. They want to get it right. They don't want to be wrong. And so sometimes rather than make mistakes, they just don't take the action. And I think it's a kind of a human nature thing and a certain personality thing. There's folks who are a little bit more risk takers and who are like, they've kind of pushed through that and grown through that and willing to take the action that's uncomfortable. And then those who want to plan and plan and plan and plan and get it all right and feel really good about it and then go. But I'm just here to tell you, when it comes to proactive outreach and new business development, you will never plan enough for it. Part of it is just taking the action, deciding to do it and doing it, and being just an authentic human on the other end of the phone and asking good questions. Like, it's really, don't overcomplicate it in your head. And I think there's probably more than even just that as an example. That's just one that I see day in and day out in our space. But think about anything that you tend to procrastinate on. For me, like for years, even as an entrepreneur, I would procrastinate having financial conversations. I did not want to talk the numbers. That was just like, oh gosh. And so I built it in as a process into my month, my week, that it's an action that I have to take as part of process. And so you can do that with a lot of different things, especially prospecting. It can be an action that you take as part of your daily routine. So you don't have to necessarily make a decision if you're going to or when you're going to do it, right? It can be kind of weeded out of those 35,000 decisions. It's not a decision, it's a non-negotiable, it must happen. So in a roundabout way, that's what I meant to get to. I go off on a tangent, but I think that the way to overcome some of that procrastination is to make it part of process in your day. And that's how it becomes less of a decision and it's just an action. What do you think about that, Donna?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that, inaction is almost scarier than taking action, right? So you mentioned some of the qualities of the salespeople and those of us who have spent our careers reaching out to clients. And I think that, one of the things that's really important is that if you try to overthink it and over plan it, I kind of crack up, because those people who've worked with me know that sometimes you want to be perfect. Right? You want it to be perfect. The days of trying to get it right 100% are really over, right? It's more about it's better to just do it. It's better to jump in, just do it. If you go back and look at the Wright brothers, for example, Amy and I, we visited about this example. The Wright brothers, at the same time they were trying to invent the airplane, right? That there were these huge corporations that were doing the exact same thing. They had teams of people, millions of dollars, all these strategy planning sessions and all these meetings. And every time they would attempt to fly. It didn't work. They'd go back for months and months and months, spend hundreds of millions of dollars or however much back then, maybe not that much, but a lot of money trying to figure out what, whereas the Wright brothers just went back, the two of them, and, you know, just made a little adjustments and they just knocked it out and went and tried it again. And clearly they got to the finish line first because they were the ones who were trying it. And so I would encourage, you know, again, through this uncertain time, it gives us a different, just a whole different take on everything. And it kind of gives you permission to try stuff differently because you really are approaching selling in unprecedented times, right? Like no one's got a rule book on exactly how to go and do this. And so, and also during this time, people, it fascinates me. I'm coaching a few people that are really booking some business. I mean, that's what's exciting about it. There is business to book. It's harder to find it. And so I would encourage those of you who are frustrated and it's a difficult time, you have to just take action. And really, Amy, what was it? What was that quote about action is expensive?
Action is cheaper than strategy.
Right, right. I mean, again, all of us that build those business plans every year, I mean, clearly and I'm not saying not ever to plan, but taking action, it will lead you to the next thing. And it's interesting. Usually good things come from action, right? Because it puts you in a different place. It gives you a different perspective. If you get up in the morning and, you know, choose to just sit in on the internet and not make any connection with anybody, it's very different than reaching out and having some connection, or reading and taking action will lead you to the next big thing. And I would highly encourage, again, people to jump in and to really start being mindful about those 35,000 decisions that you're making. Of those decisions, which ones are you taking action against? Right? So that tomorrow, maybe you're not having to procrastinate that same one of those same or 10,000 times, think it through like I did about voting.
Well, and there's shortcuts to knowing what to do too. I think what I'm seeing and hearing a lot of folks is, well, I'm not exactly sure what the right action to take is today, right? And they're sort of projecting what's going on in the hospitality industry into all their clients. But the reality is, number one, not every industry is in a downturn, and certainly not every industry is feeling it as heavily as the hospitality industry. So the first action I would take is to do the research in your market to find out what's going on, who's there, what are your feeders, what are your demand generators, what is your drive market looking like, and then other feeder markets. Like, do that research and really understand, because we are seeing a lot of business moving. It doesn't look exactly like it did, 8 months ago, 9 months ago, but there is still business out there, and it's really important to have a handle on that. So that's one piece. But also, there are a lot of shortcuts that you can take and learning from by looking at what other sellers are doing that's being effective. And honestly, that's why Donna and I talk to each other every week, is we feed ideas off of each other. It's why I'm in my own mastermind groups with other entrepreneurs in the hospitality industry. It's why I've designed, and Donna and I have designed, the On Fire, or the GitGo Spark coaching program, because what we're doing is we're taking the things that we're doing inside of GitGo every week, every day, and we have documented those tactics and strategies and are sharing it inside of our membership portal. So you can go in and grab a script that is working. You can go in and grab email templates that are getting engagement. You can use our On Fire sales process. We call it On Fire. It's open the door, nurture and follow up, factor the fit, iterate the value, resolve objections, and execute to close. Wow.
Well done. Listen to you.
But those things are already built. You don't have to go and reinvent the wheel. And whether it's a coaching program like GitGo Spark that you need, or it's a mentor, a one-on-one, you want to have some calls to just kind of get your head straight, that's taking action as well. And it will get you to the right place faster. Like, you don't have to have all the answers. There are people out there who do have, they have some paths that can guide you through this. We all say this is unprecedented times. Nobody's ever been through this before. And that's very true. Like, GitGo's never been in this situation before either, but we had the processes of building new business long before and in a different way than what the industry was really following, because we took things from other industries and other segments, and we created that long before this, so that we, now I'm like, well, thank goodness, right? Thank goodness we had that. And I'm sure in your lives, you all have had something like that too, where you've built something that's now you know why you have it, right? Like, it's for situations like this. And there's lots of people out there who are pivoting and navigating this really well. And you don't have to, like, we're doing that work at GitGo to serve, right? To help. It's not, it's not all just greedy, like, little company stuff. It's literally, we did it as a service because we knew it was needed regardless of what the economy was doing. Because all kinds of markets have had downturns for the last 10 years. We have never really had the luxury of working with a client who was in like a fantastic market that was running smoothly, right? So we built this stuff based on struggling times in various different markets and what was working, and also customer behavior, right? And we're finding that customer behavior is changing a little bit too today, based on the fact that everybody's working remote, they're working from home, they're balancing things, they've awoken to the idea of more work-life balance, perhaps. And so some of these things are set up based on that behavior change that we're seeing with buyer habits too. But point being, really, it doesn't matter who it is, but find something to give yourself some shortcuts, a mentor, a program, some education you can do. Read. Donna has a whole, look at her library behind her, but she has some great recommendations on books and things. But that's part of action, and making sure that you are, it's the way to push through this fear and the uncertainty, because we're not going to always be in this situation. I know it feels that way.
Do you know, you mentioned last time we visited that the way you really develop solid, great sales skills is not in the best of times, right? It's not. And when you're answering the phone and it's the high, everything's going great, is not when we learn how to be the best salespeople. So during these times, again, Amy and I have predicted, and I think we're pretty good to go on record again saying that by April of next year, we're really going to start to be seeing the economy's going to, you're going to need to be in your zone. It's going to start picking back up, and it's really going to be healthy. Until then, obviously, we're going to get through the election and the holidays and all of that. It's going to start hopefully getting better, but by April, you need to be ready to go. And so during these times, for you to learn and to really take an opportunity to try some different things and take action in different ways. Again, Amy mentioned our customers are now even in a different situation, right? They're at home, they're not in the office. You can't swing by on a sales call. You have to be more deliberate in the way that you choose to approach them. And remember, there's a lot of other sellers that are doing the same thing. So you've got to find a way to be unique and authentic and consistent in the way you communicate, so that when we do come out of this, you're going to be the one that they remember, that they go to when their travel needs really do start to ramp back up. Because I do believe different industries are going to pop back out of this at different times, but clearly that it's going to be time to go. When it's time to go, you don't want to say, well, during the pandemic, I kicked back and, you don't want to be out of practice. And so I think taking action is something also that it keeps you in practice, right? It keeps you, whether you're, again, and we know when we make cold calls and we sell under normal circumstances, you don't close business every single time. But if you don't try under normal circumstances, you don't book anything. And it's going to be no different here. Amy, there's a bunch of resources that you can go to. And again, we're lucky that we have each other because we really do bounce and share ideas and best practices. But I would highly recommend that you go out and either find somebody to help coach you. The GitGo, the Spark program is awesome. We worked on that again during kind of crazy economic times, but I would recommend that. But we also ran across a site that I would recommend called Startup Bros. I don't know if any of you have heard of them. It's a pretty well published site, but it's actually, I'm going to read it here. Startup Bros. Amy, what was the name of the actual Startup Bros? The Overthinker's Guide for Taking Action. Startup Bros, the Overthinker's Guide for Taking Action. I would highly recommend you just take a minute or 10. Go Google that, look it up, and look through some of the things that they talk about. I think, again, we can't go over all that here today, but there's a million reasons why we don't take action. And it really does help you look into that. And, a lot of times it's not the right condition. We just don't feel like it's right. We don't think we're prepared. We're waiting for someone to help us. There's a million reasons why you get kind of frozen. And when you realize that, no one's going to help you. Maybe no one's ever coming. You have to rely on yourself to really take that first action to reach out. And I promise one thing leads to another, which then leads to another. But if you're not taking any action, you're going to be more apt to, continue to feel, struggle a little bit with the situation that you're in. But I would highly recommend, it's an easy read. I think, again, that there's no way you'll get nothing out of it. If you go and review that, I think it will be helpful. Again, our goal today is to help one person. If one person goes and takes action because of that, then we've been successful.
Absolutely. Okay, so yes, I'm going to list the name. I actually have that link, so I'll copy that link over for you guys to take a look at that. That was one question. And then we have another question on what do we suggest for salespeople who are on extended furlough? So this was something we really touched on, I think, in our first episode. And I think it's really important to continue to go back to that because we recognize that there's probably some people on all of these calls that are in a furlough situation or looking for a new role. I think from a standpoint of you're on extended furlough, I know a lot of people who have made the decision to continue to look for opportunities during that furlough because there's some uncertainty on if they will go back, if they will be asked to come back to their role. And so I think things like, doing some research and preparing your resume might fall into that for you, Mark. I'm not sure if that's the case. But I think regardless, working on yourself, working on your skill set, your mindset, staying up on what's going on in the industry, the trends, the tactics and strategies that people are using today, because you're not actively face to the customer right now. And so you want to make sure that the moment you jump back in, that you are ready and prepared and are not trying to catch up to everybody else. So that'd be my overall. I don't know, Donna, if you have any more specific around that.
Yes, and I think also a lot of people, and I'm working with a couple different people that are really struggling because they're applying for jobs and they're not hearing back. And it's kind of put you in a defeated situation because you really want a job. There's a lot of people out there applying for them and you're feeling very defeated. I would say absolutely go about that, just like we talked about the first time, the same way you would in sales, right? It's no different. It's a process. and you need to not get defeated and down because you're not getting a particular opportunity. You have to keep trying, you have to keep prospecting, look at all the options. Somebody last week said to me, well, should I consider taking some kind of, different sort of job, like over the holidays, like a part-time thing? And I absolutely would recommend, if that makes you happy, do it. Any way you can be around positive people in a situation that makes you feel good, if that's the right answer, it would be a great thing for you to do, because the energy you get from continuing to be involved somehow, right? Whether it's doing something part-time, doing something from a home, doing something in a different industry, volunteering for something, like, it's going to make you feel better, and it's going to get you continue to be connected with people. And then right now, there's a million different resources on the internet, on LinkedIn. There's all kinds of different things you can participate in that can help you learn, develop new skills, again, be exposed to what's going on in the world. But again, it's all about your mindset getting through that. And it's easy for people to get defeated. And this isn't the time to do that. And I think taking action, continuing to reach out and, positively interact with connections, and really be just open to everything, and realize that many people are in the same situation you are in right now. And we all have a choice. 35,000 times a day, we get to make a decision on what we're going to do. Your decision should be to continue to really try and stay involved.
Yeah. No, and it is true. There are a lot of folks that are leaving the industry. So somebody made a comment here that, it's unfortunate we're seeing a lot of sales veterans leaving the industry. And that is true, and it is unfortunate, but I also think that there's, the possibilities of the future of, where we take our industry are interesting, and people are making decisions for where they're at today, and nothing's permanent, right? I was just talking to somebody a good friend, not even in the hospitality industry, who is faced with either starting her own business or she got a really amazing job offer, all at the time that she was looking to leave her current role. And she was really talking to me about starting her own business, and I was coaching her on that. And suddenly this opportunity came about. And in this economy, for her, the decision was best for her to take a more stable role. And she was looking for my permission for that, because it was hard for her to pivot around, but I really want to start my own thing. I want that flexibility. And I said, well, there's nothing saying you can't, right? You can always grow that opportunity as you're doing this, or you can do this for a while and go back to that dream. We are not static people. And if you are growth minded, I think you can see the possibilities and the opportunities. So I always tell everybody to not white knuckle the how you get to where you want to be, right? There's a lot of paths you can take, and these folks are choosing to take a path outside of the industry for now. I bet some of them have the idea in the back of their mind that if and when the opportunity arises and things start to look better in our industry, they would love to come back. And so the possibility is still there. And then some are going to find out that they're really happy and they found their sweet spot, and they're staying where, and this could have been the best thing that ever happened to them. And so I literally think, I know so many people who hated their job. I'm not saying this is in our industry. There's people in all industries. They absolutely hated going to work every day, and they lost their job for various reasons. They got fired. Their company took a different direction. There was all kinds of things. And it ended up being the thing that they had, that had to happen to push them to make the change that they were meant to make, that they were supposed to be making. So I think if you change the story and use the lens that life happens for you, not to you, and everything is meant to be to show you possibility and opportunity, then nothing can set you back. Not even a global pandemic and a catastrophic events to our industry. It can't stop you because it's meant for you. And I challenge everybody. Actually, I've challenged my own team on this. I've challenged everybody in the industry that I've talked to. I've challenged you to find your reason why this happened. Find the why for you. Why is this the best thing that's happened for you? What have you gained from this experience? Right? And if that's what it takes to help you to start, building the confidence to move into action and get past this and push through it, I think that's just a new way of looking at it.
And people really are writing their own stories that way, right? Like I know a couple people that have recently been in a situation where they lost their job, and now they've had the opportunity to move closer to family, be with their grandchildren through this crazy global pandemic, and to really help them out. And they never would have had an opportunity to do that. I know somebody today who's going on a big trip. They're going to college tours with their kids, and they're involved, and they've never been so glad they don't have to work so they can go and actually participate in those things, right? So there are things, again, and the other thing that's interesting about this time in our world is that there's so many of us that are in the same situation, right? There's a lot of people who in our hospitality industry that have been furloughed and or don't have their job right now. Or if you have a job, you're really concerned about keeping it, right? Like a lot of people are in the same boat. So all you can do is really, again, use your resources, coaches, mentors, friends to help you get through it. Make as many connections as you possibly can and continue to have a growth mindset through it. And think about over that time that I was either furloughed or didn't have a job or went through those challenges, what good out of the pandemic? What came out of it that was good? And what is it that we can say that we accomplished during that time frame? And I know myself, looking over the time that we're having that we didn't used to have at home, I hope when we get out of it that I've at least cleaned out my closets as long as we've been home. Like there are things that we should be accomplishing and projects we should be doing when we've had this time. And again, there's more time to read, there's more time to process, there's more time to work out. Like there's all kinds of things we could be doing that are good for ourselves. And I think sometimes we get paralyzed and get scared and just, find yourself in a situation where that's hard to actually act on. But that's where the taking action can be really helpful for you right now. Is you're not taking action to start doing that. You can write your story of what you did during this time frame.
Yeah, so a good book recommendation. I firmly believe in the way you start your day sets the tone for the day. And so what is the book called? Now I can't think of it. It's the morning. Oh my gosh, I will think of it and I'll post it. It's literally, it walks you through a process of how to start your day. Somebody post it? No. Oh, okay. I will find the book and I will post it to the LinkedIn group if I can't think of it while we're on here. But it talks about the things to do in your morning to start your day. Start your day with a gratitude list or journaling, moving your body, exercise, meditation. And there was one more thing, I believe.
Coffee, was it coffee?
Coffee, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But how you set your tone for the day. And then the other part is, because I firmly believe in that. If I'm waking up and the first thing I do is look at my phone to see what messages are urgent, then I've already lost control of my day. And I've put the control of my day is on somebody else, not me. And so I can't start the day that way. But if you start your day in a mindful sense and you set your intention of how you want to feel at the end of the day, regardless if you're working or not, that's one way you can control and take action. And then the second part is managing your time blocks. I don't know if this may not work for everybody. It works for me, and I teach it to a lot of people and they seem to love it, is blocking your day for the things that are sometimes hard to protect the time to do, such as business development and having client conversations. We're most successful at that because a lot of times people tend to want, the space you leave in the day will get filled up by something. But if you block out the time to do the activities, you will make it, you'll get it accomplished, or you should. And so that would be 2 suggestions there on taking action. Somebody asked about book recommendations. We have a slew of book recommendations. I think it was particularly around mindset. Is that right, Julia? I think I saw that. My scroll is going fast now, so I want to keep up. So the book recommendations that we had last week, Gabrielle Bernstein has a good series of books. A lot of it, if you're into more of like the meditation, law of attraction, that kind of thing, she's really good. And people really like her. I follow her. I get her email lists. I'm on her email list. I really like, there's Ask and It Is Given. That one is really centered again around law of attraction, but also it's mindset. And then Mindset, right? Like Carol Dweck. I think that's like that's the 101. Everybody needs to read that book.
Right. No, in fact, I have a copy of it right here. I refer to it commonly. I think that's a great one that especially, it speaks very much to the growth mindset. And for those of you who are considering selecting a different industry and really going and trying something different, you shouldn't be limiting yourself. And your skills are definitely probably transferable in a lot of different ways, right? And I know some people, well, I've never worked in, a different industry. How would I know? And the growth mindset, that book very much would help propel you forward and help you to realize that, that shouldn't be limiting, that just because you've never done something before doesn't mean there's a chance you wouldn't be good at it. So yeah, there are so many different resources. And again, back to Blink List, which is another opportunity that online that gives you a quick rundown on different books, which would help you to realize, a lot of times, the net of the book, right? It tells you that, but then sometimes it helps you to decide if you want to read the entire book. Again, I think this is a time for reading, podcasts, listening. I mean, there's never been more information for you to, there's tons of information for you to process. And I would highly recommend all the positive stuff instead of trying to consume the media that's going on right now. Because again, we talked about that, I think both the last 2 times, that it's not super healthy to watch the news 3 hours a day today, because there's not a lot of real positive, uplifting things to share.
Absolutely. Somebody mentioned Simon Sinek. I love Simon Sinek's
yeah,
books.
I do too.
Start with Why and The Infinite Game. The Infinite Game I haven't read yet. It's on my list, but that is about having an infinite mindset, right? About a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. I believe that is kind of the premise behind that book. And Start with Why. I mean, I listened to that on my headphones while I was mowing the lawn a couple years ago. And it got me really motivated to make sure that I was communicating my why more clearly to everybody. And that's honestly where I am here to illuminate possibilities and inspire action. It came from listening to that book. It helps you find your personal why. And if you are a business owner in this space, it helps it helped me define the why of my greater business and team, and really helped navigate that for us. So really great book, and have good memories of listening to that. Somebody asked, how do we stay motivated and stay on track? So that is a good question.
I wish I could take my own advice on this. I think exercising every single day, and again, starting out in the morning and knocking that out, gets your positive energy flowing. And if I would say start with that, And again, back to Amy, what you said about scheduling your time and blocking time. And if you're, regardless of your situation right now, it's different than it was, right? You're probably working from home. You might have your kids under feet. You have all kinds of different distractions than you had before. Clients are harder to get a hold of. It's all a little different. I would schedule, and you really have to hold yourself accountable. And that's harder for some than others. But if you can hold yourself accountable to spending your time in blocks like you described, Amy, and realizing that this isn't fun for anybody. There's nobody who was waking up in the morning going, you know, this global pandemic, this is awesome. Everyone's a little bit in the same boat, right? And so I also would surround yourself with as many positive people as you can, if that's at all possible. I was coaching somebody last week. They said it's a younger group of people. And they said that all their friends are, you know, wanting to go out and party and hang out and, you know, not take it in the midst of this COVID madness. And it's hard to, you want to be around like-minded people who can help propel you forward.
Yeah. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so choosing that circle of trust is really important. And I know it was one of the game changers for me when I chose to spend more time and build groups of people that could help me, like stretch me, right? Not just be like-minded. It can be, sometimes it's easier to find people that are just like-minded, but are they going to stretch you? Are they going to, you know, push you to be the best version of you? That's really where we need to be making mindful choices there. You know, this is a good point. Somebody mentioned there's those people who throughout the pandemic in our industry been working 10, 12-hour days, spending less time with their family and more time working. And I completely understand that. And I think this circles around, Donna, to what we were talking about yesterday. So I had to really, one of my taking action examples was actually choosing to unplug last week. I was getting to the point because, you know, the 35,000 decisions that we make, I was feeling like I was making about 50,000 decisions a day. I was feeling very overwhelmed and just, it was coming from all directions. As a leader, if those of you who are leaders of teams on here or leaders of people, you have to be, or working, you know, boots on the ground, 10 to 12 hours a day, you have to take care of yourself. You know, put your own mask on before others. And in hospitality industry, sometimes, you know, we're all about being hospitable and being there for others, right? And having the game faced on and being nurturing and loving to other people, but we have to do it for ourselves first, or we're not going to have enough to give to others. And so even in the midst of the craze, like, you must find time for you, even if it is, you know, whatever you can get, even if it's a small, short amount of time. For me, what it meant was I couldn't take time off. I was working long days and I was very engaged on calls and meetings all day. But at the end of the day, after my kids went to bed, I shut down. I went to my room. I didn't talk to a soul. I bowed out of invitations to, you know, I had a volunteer meeting. I said, sorry, I'm not going to make it tonight. I had a group of girlfriends that were getting together. I said, sorry, I'm not going to make it. It's not me. That's not how I usually operate. I freaked people out. But I did it for me as a choice. And that is also taking action sometimes, especially when you are stretched and overwhelmed. And so I highly encourage those who are grinding it out to find even a sliver of time or a way that you can regenerate. If it's a hot bath, if it's, you know, just shutting the brain down for a bit, and do it in a healthy way, right? Choose it in a clean, healthy way, but it's really important to take care of yourself first.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are rounding out the hour, everybody. I hope that this has served you and you got at least a nugget of something out of this. That's our goal. If you have other questions, if you were shy and didn't want to post it in the group, feel free. We have an open door inside LinkedIn. You can private message either of us and reach out. You know, it's really important that we're here to support each other through this. Donna and I recognize that people are having a tough time, and those of us who feel strong should be raising our hand and saying, we got you, right? And that's how we feel right now. I feel like I can help, um, whether it's mindset or a tactic or strategy. And I know Donna, I know Donna can help.
Mhm,
She sure helps me.
mhm, mhm. Well, yes, and again, clearly, we're all going to get through this. So it's going to come to an end, and that's the best part. And I think you just keep focused on that. And between now and then, whatever you can do to stay positive and to be positive for other people. I mean, right now, there's a lot of people on this call that very well could be helping other people. Think that through, because again, there's a lot of different challenges and headwinds that are going on right now. And that's where I think that, the great thing about hospitality professionals is, generally speaking, we're pretty hospitable. And so recognizing that a lot of people need support right now, and again, encouraging them to get through it. But April, Amy, right? We're going to be done with it by April. We may still have a mask on, but we're going to be done with the mess by then, hopefully. So that's our prediction.
Absolutely. Awesome, guys. Well, Julia, if we missed any questions, if you want to just grab those and send them, and we can make sure we address them in the comments under the event. But we'll let you all sign off. And thanks so much for joining. Spread the word. Invite other people. We do these every 2 weeks. So not next Thursday, but the Thursday after. So we will be post-election. And
thank goodness.
we're not talking politics. We will never. But we can certainly celebrate that we've gotten through that, I think.
Right. Very good. We hope it'll be over by then, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so
Thanks,
thank you all
everybody.
so much.